Hello everyone, my name's Jack, also known as Tequila Jack. Why? Because in my pack I carry a small bottle of tequila with me almost all the time. Now what I'm going to do before I unpack everything and put it all away, I'm going to show you what I had on this PCT adventure of mine. First thing, I'm using a ULA circuit pack. I love this pack. It's lightweight, weighs about 2 pounds, and it's large enough to carry everything you need. On the top I kept my tent. I carried 2 tents on this trip. One was the Evo 2P tent from Big Sky. Wonderful tent, 2-person tent with the ground cloth, with the pegs, with everything. It weighs 3 pounds, 13 ounces. Also on the top, a lot of the time, I would carry my wind jacket. This is a Marmot Precip jacket. I loved it. It worked really well until it got saturated in a snowstorm once, then it leaked. Can't expect too much from a jacket. The other tent I used over here was a Big Agnes Fly Creek UL1. This is a 1-person tent, and it weighs about a pound and a quarter less than the 2-person tent. I think it weighs in at 2 pounds, 6 ounces, something like that, 9 ounces. And I like that tent a lot as well, but 2-person tent is really nice to have because it's roomy, especially in the rain up in Washington. You can't beat having a lightweight 2-person tent for 1 person. Okay, to secure all this stuff on the top, this one little strap on the ULA pack is just not sufficient. You're going to need some other type of paracord or something to strap it down and tie it down, or some other way to carry your tent. It'll flop around, it'll fall if you just rely on this one strap. Getting into the pack, well, let's go to the outside. Outside pocket on the right is what I call my quarty. This is a 1-quart container. You can get them in any grocery store. It's a wonderful little thing. I would carry candy bars in here. I would carry maltodextrin sport drink, load it all up, and I'd be able to get to it real easy during the day just by reaching back and grabbing it. Also, this item is useful for putting in cereal in the morning or any kind of food. And when you need to scoop up water, it's easy to collect water with this and then pour it into your Gatorade bottle. You can't scoop water really easily with a Gatorade bottle. That rode on the other side, and that had my maltodextrin sport drink in it. The quarty I would always carry on this side, the same side as my platypus, and my maltodextrin sport drink was always over here. And then I had an internal drinking platypus in here. It was a 3-liter model, but you could do fine with 2 liters. And that's pretty much it on the outside. In the front pocket, I would always carry this little gray bag, and in this little gray bag was my SteriPen. The SteriPen is the smallest model they sell. It uses a couple weird batteries, so you might want to look at something different, but I did have batteries in every resupply box, every other resupply box, and it worked well all the way through the trip. Sterilized a lot of water. I probably went through a set of batteries every 10 days or so. It doesn't really do what it's rated for. I think it says 45 liters. I was probably getting about 20. Also in this little bag is my spot device, which I used a lot, and a headlamp. And I would sometimes carry my little tripod in here too, my little gorilla pod, but that's in one of the other pockets right now. So that's this bag. I'm kind of into bags, so you'll see as I pull things out, everything is kind of bagged up in its own particular bag. Also in here I would carry a water filter. It was a backup device. It's a Sawyer water filter, weighs about 4 ounces, and my platypus was rigged so that I could put this in line if I did in an emergency or SteriPen disappeared or something. I could put this in line and drink purified water. Before I get into the pack, let me talk a little bit about my clothes, because my clothes were really important too. This is the one shirt I wore the whole time and the one pair of pants. These are REI cargo pants, and you have to have a belt because you're going to lose weight and your pants will fall off. I use a very simple belt that I got from REI, lightweight, adjustable, and the shirt is a Columbia titanium shirt, very nice shirt. It's withheld a lot of scrapes, scratches, falls, never ripped once, and it dries quickly and it vents really well. In the top pocket over here on my right side, I would usually carry some of our little hiker cards. I did that because I'd hand them out a lot along the way. plus some lip gloss. That's what I carry up there. Over in the left pocket were maps, folded up paper maps just of the day's trip and the altitude profile, so I could whip those out really fast and look and see where I was or where I was going or what was going on. In the pant pockets, my left pocket was George, the GPS. I put it in a sunglasses case just to protect it a little more. This is an Garmin Oregon 450 model. I put all my own maps in it. In the lower left pocket, here in the cargo pants, I had a little voice recorder. This was a very useful piece of electronics. With it, I could record mileages, water places, names of people I met along the way, and then I could recap the day's events in the tent at night when I was way too tired to type out some kind of a journal entry. I could always go back and play this and recreate the day's events. Also in this lower pocket with the recorder, I would stuff trash, candy bar wrappers. I would also carry a couple of candy bar items that were kind of intermediate between here and my pocket, so I could reach into my pocket quickly and get some energy. On my right pocket over here, very simple, I carried just two items. Swiss Army knife and some toilet paper. Always have to have that toilet paper handy, you never know when you need it. In the right front pocket was my camera, and I love this little camera. This is a Canon ELPH 300HS. It shoots high definition video and some excellent stills. Very lightweight, uses flash cards. I carried a bunch of flash cards too, and I was always downloading the flash cards whenever I could to a DVD and then mailing the DVDs off so I could reuse the flash cards. So that's pretty much it for the pants. That's what I carried in my pockets, and these items in the pockets weighed 2 pounds. You start adding up the GPS and the electronics that I'm carrying around. But it's important to me to have this stuff, so that's why I decided to carry it. And then I did carry spare batteries so I could keep everything going throughout the trip. In the mesh pocket, I always carry my little Teflon spoon. This spoon was really useful for getting into Mountain House meals, the big deep bags. And I also would carry a plastic bag that had toiletries in it, like toothbrush, toothpaste, ibuprofen tablets, soap, shampoo if I ever could use it or found a place to use it. And then sometimes I'd stick my trash bag in here too so I could get to it easily and trash things up. I use these tiny little strap connectors. They're used to keep your sunglasses from falling off or keep your hat connected to your shirt, so if you're in a high windstorm your hat blows off, it's not going to go too far. This also is useful for something loose out here on the pack that might fall off. You can hook it to the pack and then clip this to like a trash bag or something and then just stick it in the mesh under here. I did have a pair of flip-flops. Those would ride right inside here as well on the pack, and I would extra secure them with a little Velcro strap, this little red guy, to kind of hold everything in and make sure if they fell out, they'd still flop around in there in the pack somewhere. In the front side pocket, this one right over here, I would carry my cell phone and a small notebook. And the cell phone was in a little, once again, a sunglasses case. And it was well protected, and I would usually bag it in the plastic bag just in case it ever got wet. And I carry a couple of pens, big black marking pen and a little pen. And I'd use the little pen for notes, and the black marking pen I would use to make signs with cardboard for hitchhiking. On the other side, my most valuable piece of wearing apparel, and that would be my mosquito net right here. Always have it handy. You want to be able to pull it out, put it on real quick, because those mosquitoes can attack at a moment's notice. I would also carry some DEET in here, and I would carry sunscreen. So I have my lip gloss here, my sunscreen down here, my mosquito net, DEET. I'm all ready to go. And then other times I would stuff in my little Gorilla Pod in case I wanted to take some pictures. This is a great little device. It doesn't weigh much. Put your camera on it, put your timer on, and you can wrap this around trees, branches, and all kinds of things. It's just the greatest little device, especially if you're traveling solo. I also use a stick picks. It's a little device that goes out on the end of your hiking pole, and you can hold your camera out there, take movies while you're walking or talking, or take stills of yourself with some mountain or something in the background. Stick picks sometimes was in that pocket as well. Okay, As we get into the pack, I usually put my sleeping bag on the bottom, but sometimes when I wanted to get going quickly in the morning, I would pack everything up first and then I just put my sleeping bag in on the top. But generally I put it in on the bottom, and whenever there was any chance that it was going to be wet, I'd pack everything up in this Sea to Summit dry bag. This is a size medium dry bag. You put it inside the pack, you load everything up in this, and then you totally conceal it up at the top, roll it up, cinch it up, and everything in here is going to stay dry. I have found that whatever is on the very bottom can get wet from moisture that's coming through when you're setting your pack down on wet surfaces, wet to here. So if you are going to use this in a wet environment, make sure the bottom item, whether it's a food bag or what, is impervious to water itself. Don't put your sleeping bag on the bottom if you think you're going to be in a lot of water, even with this bag. Good bag, lightweight. My cooking, very simple. One titanium pan. This is a 1.3 liter pan, REI. Inside is a bottle of alcohol, a small 8-ounce bottle, the same size as a tequila bottle. Don't confuse them. The tequila is brown, the alcohol is clear. I use a very small alcohol stove. This is a cool stove. I bought it, actually didn't make it. And there's a little kind of a preheating plate. You set this down, you pour a little bit of alcohol in the preheating plate, set the stove on here, pour some fuel in there, and then light the outside, the preheating plate, and the flames heat up the stove itself. You got your water in here, you put it on top of the stove directly, and the heat turns the alcohol to vapor, and the little vapors shoot out these tiny little holes, and you got fire. You got a nice little stove going here. It works great. It doesn't use that much fuel. It's perfect for just heating a couple cups of water. If you're going to cook more, you might want to try a different stove. I also carry some hot peppers because I like to spice up my meals, and then of course a windscreen. Windscreen for the stove. You have to have a windscreen if you're using your alcohol stove. And that's pretty much it on the stove. Not too much to it, lightweight, worked well. And I highly recommend going with alcohol. We used heat the whole time. This bag, I've got, like I say, I got a lot of bags. This bag is my rain gear. And in this bag is a pair of rain pants. They're Marmot Precips. And, oh, they're still dirty, they're still wet from Washington. They work very well for me. They're a little bit heavier than something like the reed pants from Go White, but I was very happy with them. They even have pockets. Also in here are some mitts. They're event mitts, kind of waterproof material from Mountain Laurel Designs, and I found they work really well. You want to seal the seams. They give you a seam sealer with them. They work really well for breaking the wind, kind of a windbreaker for your hands. They don't necessarily keep your hands dry, but they will keep your hands warm, extra warm. Very useful, particularly in the rain and the snow. And then there's a pair of very small gaiters in here. Gaiters, we used Dirty Girl gaiters in the desert. They work very well. You have to put the Velcro on your shoes. And these are a little bit higher gaiters, and they're waterproof. They're a little bit more for wet zones. And then I used even a higher gaiter when I was up in Washington, and I really liked the highest gaiter I could find because there's a lot of hiker wash. You're walking through bushes and vegetation, and your legs are going to get all wet. So gaiters are really useful, particularly in Washington. So much for the rain suit. The rain coat right here, my Marmot Precip. With that and stuff underneath, I could stay reasonably dry. All my clothes would go in this orange bag. And in here are sleeping clothes, a pair of long underwear. There's also an icebreaker, very lightweight, I think it's 150 weight long sleeve t-shirt, and that helps out for cold days. And then there's a swimming suit in here and a bunch of socks and underwear, and that's pretty much it. Pretty much everything I'm wearing here was what I had, and just a couple more items you'd find in here. I like having extra socks. I use 2 pairs of socks each day, a thin white liner sock and then a heavier merino wool sock, and they work well for me. clothes bag. Thing about bags, you can easily find things. This is my electronics bag. I carry spare batteries in here. I actually had too many cell phone batteries, but it was okay. Cell phone charger, extra lighter. Here's my stick picks right here. Stick picks for connecting a camera to a hiking pole. The pigs live in here. I had a pair of headphones and a tiny little MP3 player that worked for 2 days on a charge. That was good. Battery charger for the camera. A lot of people will say, well, why don't you just bounce this stuff ahead? Well, I don't like bounce boxes. I like to prefer to have all my stuff with me. When I get to a place where there's electricity, I can just put all the chargers out and get them going. And then some spare batteries. I had spare batteries for the water purifying, the Sterapen, and then there's some spare batteries for George, the GPS, in here as well. And you want to use the lithium batteries on your GPS. They last a lot longer. And that's pretty much it for my little electronics bag, the red bag. And the pigs live in here again, as I said. What else? Oh, this is kind of a catch-all bag. This has scissors, thread. It has a very small pair of scissors. You can't even imagine the kind of scissors. I mean, if someone says scissors, this is what it is. Scissors, tweezers, another pen in there, a couple more batteries, another thing of sunscreen, and a little bunch of paracord because I need to tighten it up, and a patch kit for my air mattress just in case I plug a hole. Going deeper, we come to the down jacket. This is a Western Mountaineering flash jacket. Lightweight, works well. Down though, when it gets wet, it doesn't work real well. And mine got wet once. First aid kit. My first aid kit probably weighs about half a pound, but it's got a lot of cool things in it. It's got some drugs, Cipro, antibiotics, even a painkiller, very powerful painkiller in here. Got it from my doctor. Extra ibuprofen, a lot of bandages. I can see there's some DEET in here. And tape and gauze and all that. I figure I could pretty much do first aid on anybody with just about any kind of injury with just this. Okay, now we're getting down to the bottom. Neo Air blow-up air mattress. Love this thing. This is the full-size one. If I could do anything different, I'd get the 3/4 size one. It was a little bit too long. And then finally, last but not least, my 2-pound Feathered Friends down sleeping bag. This one is rated to about 20 degrees, and it worked really well for me on the trip. Never got wet once. There's one other item that's not in here that I see laying out here that both Barb and I carried. It was a blow-up pillow. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you know, it's lightweight, it's okay. A lot of people would say, just use your clothes bag. Well, you can if you want, but I prefer using this little blow-up pillow. I used it every night. I slept on it every night. It packs up really well in this tiny little bag, and it fits right in with my sleeping bag, and it worked great. And that is pretty much everything I carried on this trip, except for food and water. The food would go in these bags, sometimes one, sometimes two. They're waterproof. All my food was either sealed or in plastic bags. That would either go in the bottom or in the top, depending on how I was packing. And the pack without food and water weighed 20 pounds. And I guess if you want to add the other 2 pounds from the stuff I had in my pockets, I had a 22-pound base weight, which is considered pretty heavy. But when you add in maybe 4 or 5 days of food and a liter of water, you're only talking about 30, 32, 33 pounds. And for me, that's really light. So I enjoyed it. It worked well. I had everything I needed. And then some. I just had a few extra clothes here and there. So if you decide to go on a through hike, maybe you can find this information useful. Good pack, lots of good things that work for me. Now, trekking poles, got to talk about those. I use Makalu, Lecky Makalus. The tips wear out. You're going to want to get some more tips. You can see there's a good tip. And there's a bad tip that's already lost its point. And once the points are gone, these poles don't work real good. They start slipping, especially if you're crossing a river on a log or something. You want fresh tips, so you might include these tips, just knock right off and slide right back on. Include a couple in a resupply box, or have someone send you some about halfway through, and just change them out. I love these Lecky's poles, and I wouldn't go hiking without them. So that's it. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you get out there and get into some hiking of your own.